So welcome to our last session of March for the Unity Correspondence Course. We've been reading in the second course on healing, and one of these days we may actually finish this lesson. But I don't know about you guys. I'm having a great time sharing with each other our wisdom and insights and questions. And for me, that's the joy of getting together this early on a Sunday morning.
It's
So
been wonderful.
yeah. So I'm gonna bring up the daily word here and see if we can start off by reading that. And as soon as I get my share screen going here, I'll bring it up and just see if anybody would be willing to read today's daily word for us.
I can.
Thank you.
Sunday, March 30th. And the daily word is forgive. My soft heart expresses love as I forgive. Holding on to the hurt caused by someone's words or actions is harmful to mental, physical, and emotional health. If I stew over these negative feelings, it's likely I will feel worse. It is when I am willing to let go of these troubling emotions that the healing begins. Forgiveness is healing. Realizing the slight may have been unintentional or the one who hurt me may be unaware of my pain, I feel compassion. I let go by repeating the words, I forgive you, silently to myself, which helps me speak these words aloud when I am able. If I have caused unintentional harm, I ask for forgiveness. Through divine love, I forgive and am forgiven. As I express this love, I mend feelings and open the way to peace and harmony. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. And that's from Luke 6:37.
Thanks, Lillian. Today's word, my soft heart expresses love as I forgive. Let's affirm that together. My soft heart
Expresses love
as I
as
forgive.
I forgive.
I think that's quite appropriate that in the second paragraph here, we read forgiveness is healing. And of course, healing is what we've been working on. So let's go to that lesson. And so as we sit in that consciousness of the power of forgiveness, the healing power of forgiveness, we're in this section here, which is headed releasing diseased beliefs. Since we are the offspring of God, why have we appeared to be unlike him? And we read paragraph 15 last week, and we were about to start paragraph 16. And before we pick that up, anything on anybody's mind about the general work in this course that we've already shared? Any comments or thoughts on this general topic?
Well, I want to pick up on something you said at the beginning, Marty, about the progress that we are making. And I want to completely affirm that it is the communication and the sharing that is so powerful about our time together. We don't usually get that in a church service, in quotations. We're more a recipient of information. So I really want to acknowledge you for bringing us together and facilitating this.
Thank you. It's my joy. And I see Rhonda has joined us, so I think we're all here. So who would like to read paragraph 16?
I'd be glad to read it, but I can't seem to move my screen up and down to see it.
Well,
So
if you can't see it, you can't read it.
that's it. That's it.
I can read it. I have it on a piece of paper, so
Okay.
I can read it.
All right, Janet.
Okay, so number 16. Love is a healing balm. Our knowing God as our Father and as the Father of all men will take away the great burden of condemnation from our minds. When condemnation is removed from mind, many of the ills of the flesh will disappear because condemnation, criticism, and fault finding make sick bodies. Instead of judging by appearances, we shall practice seeing ourselves and others as we are in truth. Thus, we shall remove the appearance instead of condemning it.
And would you read that footnote number 2?
Okay, love is healing balm. The all-important thing about love is that it harmonizes, blesses, and unifies. A loving attitude causes harmony to become the dominant factor in mind and body, and maintenance of good health becomes a way of life. And that is Ed Rebel, Metaphysics, Chapter 5, Developing a Healthy Consciousness. And I guess it's on a video also.
Thanks for reading that. Any thoughts or comments about this paragraph?
I can share one thing that came out of yesterday. Claudia and I were in a group with Mark Hicks doing one of his, is it Arbinger? Whatever that thing is he does. And it became apparent to me for the first time in 75 years that I have spent my life in condemnation of myself. And it has been a very tough pill to swallow in the past 12 hours since we finished. And I find it actually quite confusing. But I realize I think I've always tried to do none of those things, no condemnation or criticism or fault finding with other people. But I am very quick to do it to myself and always have been. And now I am praying for truth to show me how to not do it to myself. So that's my share.
Beautiful. Thank you, Janet.
I think sometimes condemnation comes from fear. When I catch myself nagging and being judgy about my granddaughter, I think a lot of it is fear that she is not going to be well and happy and content when I'm gone.
And for what reason?
For what reason? What?
Well, why do you think that would happen?
Because I'm 81 and she's 18.
And you don't think she can handle it herself, or what?
Well, she's only 18, and there's a lot of history and a lot of difficulty and a lot of loss that she's experienced that prey on her. That's what I see anyway.
Martha, I love how you use that word, prey on her.
Yeah.
Maybe the different vowel would be better there.
Yes. You're right. I think I heard that when I said that. I thought,
Well, I think that it's a powerful insight to recognize the possibility that condemnation is a fear-based reaction. And what I love about this paragraph is it is talking about the antidote. So it says, love is the healing balm. And that, as Janet was saying, when you're implying based on your 12 hours of reaction to what you learned yesterday, when condemnation is removed from mind, many of the ills of the flesh will disappear because condemnation, criticism, and fault finding make sick bodies.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, fear is natural in human beings. It's natural in all animals. Fear is actually a way that we stay safe. It's a warning sign. But what we have all discovered is that sometimes the fears that prey, there's that word, Claudia, prey, P-R-E-Y, in our minds, are not real. In a recovery movement, AA, we say fears, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. And so the challenge is to determine the distinction between fears that are real and deserving of our attention, and those things that are from a different part of our psyche, that need love and kindness and forgiveness to release their energy, to generate the healing balm within.
That's helpful.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with these. I said this many times back in my speaker days. There's nothing wrong with these thoughts that we hold in mind. The opportunity is to notice them and create something different. Let them be a gateway to something else, rather than further condemnation or what the hell's wrong with me, or I've been a true student all these years and I'm still having these thoughts. Okay. I love myself the way God loves me. Any other thoughts about this paragraph? This is powerful stuff. See what the next paragraph, see if it has something to illuminate for us here. Number 17. Anybody willing to read number 17?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Every form of hate and envy and jealousy is a burning fire, disintegrating force that disturbs the mind and tears down the body. But love will restore us when we enter the silence, affirm our oneness with love, and express it. There is but one power, the power of God's love.
And can you read that note, note number 3?
Hate, a burning fire. Hate burns out the vital spark in the glands, much as an excessively high current burns out a fuse in your house lighting system. Then the light goes out and death of the body sets in.
Thank you.
Well, I think we've all experienced the de-energizing aspect of hate. I mean, initially, you might feel fueled because it is a little bit of addictive, rush, but it can be then very exhausting. And that's kind of why I've tried to give up the news media recently, because it's just seems, I mean, hate is a strong word, but negativity could be substituted in that space. And it is exhausting and it does burn you out,
Thanks, Claudia. Anybody else?
It's a whole lot easier for me to be angry with my brother, even though I haven't spoken with him in years. But it's easier to be angry with him than it is to really look at me and the pain I have felt from the betrayal. And, there's some energy to that anger. And there's just, I haven't found the energy in the pain, the hurt that I've felt.
Righteousness is the word that comes to mind. There's some righteousness in the anger.
Oh, goodness, yes. Yeah.
Well, and what you said, Claudia, I think is my experience too. There's not just righteousness, but it feels good. That you used the word addictive, and that's a challenge for us if we're not aware of the addictive quality of that feel good, I'm so much better than you energy. We'll keep coming back to it.
But isn't there a place for righteous indignation when you see something that is so wrong and so hurtful to somebody else or to yourself?
And especially when it's so intentional.
Right. That gives you the righteous part.
Yeah. Well, what do we think? Good question.
I think it goes to whether or not you absorb it. Do you observe it or do you absorb it?
Ooh.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I can observe things that are wrong, and I can call it out for what it is. But when I ruminate on it, when I dwell in it, when it becomes like just a fuel for me, then it's harmful, I believe. I think that's the difference. One is just an observation. Well, I struggle with this too, Martha. I mean, what do they say? Those economists have that crossing line, like where's the intersection of observation versus condemnation? I don't know. I mean, I think observation is good. I think calling it out is good. I think taking it to bed at night and dreaming about it is bad. That's harmful to your system.
I think of it as stewing in it.
Stewing is not good.
Stewing.
Anybody else? Any other observations or thoughts about this really important question?
Maybe when you start feeling good about yourself, about being so righteously angry, you've crossed that line, Claudia. You're kind of reveling in your goodness, and rather than, and that becomes a kind of condemnation because okay, I'm going to put it for me, because I'm feeling better than somebody else, and they are being really bad. So as soon as I start feeling like that, I've crossed the line. I'm not.
Well, I live across the line.
Pardon me?
Said I feel like I live across the line.
Stewing, huh?
Doing, man. Yes.
That comes to mind of boiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's
just that constant stir, that constant.
Well, and like all addictions, we need bigger hits as time goes on to get the same effect.
Ah.
It always struck me as significant that in the 7 words that Jesus spoke from the cross, the first ones he spoke were, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And I think that as I contemplate that, I personalize that. Forgive me, for sometimes I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, man.
Hmm.
Because the human of me is limited, and the human of me is full of addictions and self-righteousness, and which is, to Martha's point, is a form of fear. It's a form of defensiveness, protection. I feel I need protection from the world because I've lost my trust in God in those moments. And it's very human. It's like nothing wrong with that. The beauty of our work is when we have that awareness, the awareness allows us to renew our faith, to renew our commitment to the truth, knowing that we're fallible, and most of us aren't capable. Well, we're capable, but most of us don't live in it 24/7. And God's okay with that. We're the ones that aren't okay with it.
It is comforting also to know that I suppose there were some mystics and some saints. I don't know any of them. I don't see any of them. I know I'm not one of them. So it's in a way comforting to know that this is a journey. It's not a destination. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a destination, but it seemed like a journey to me.
Or
Well,
maybe the journey is the destination.
Well, what we say in unity is we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So, I mean, that's the part of it. It's a human experience, but we're spiritual beings. It's a hard balance. It's difficult at times to let the spirituality of me express through my human body, but that's the plan.
The plane,
And it's glorious.
The plan.
the plan. And it is glorious, yes.
Anything else on this paragraph? One of the things I notice about the correspondence course is oftentimes the things that we mull over are focused on in the next question or next section. So let's see what the next section might have to offer us. Oh, seeking good, not error. Okay. So paragraph 18 is a long one. Who would be willing to read that for us?
I will.
Okay, Lillian, thank you.
I was going to suggest my sister, but I thought maybe she would come forth herself.
Yeah, it's always easy to volunteer someone else, isn't it?
I guess it didn't work. Seeking good, not error. What place has prayer in the attainment of health? One might conclude that since all disease is caused by error thought, we should be continually searching his mind for error. This is not necessary or profitable. Quote, but who can discern his errors? Clear thou me from hidden faults, from Psalms 19. The point is that we are to deal with the cause side, and we do this more effectively by keeping our thoughts busy in establishing the good than by looking for error, We need to remember that thought is formative, and it brings forth into the manifest world in accordance with the character of the thought. If the mind is dwelling on error, then error is what will be produced, because keeping it active in mind shows that we are placing the energy of our faith faculty in it. Those who consciously give up, deny, are their ignorant and untrue thoughts and lay hold of true thoughts by affirmation based on divine ideas are called overcomers. They find as they turn the whole matter over to spirit and trust in its wisdom and power to overcome, that the work proceeds in an orderly way. They do not have to spend their time looking for error. They affirm the truth and hold themselves in an attitude of willingness to be guided. If there is an inharmonious condition, the cause of it will be revealed to them. The light comes not by anxious thought, but by the revelation of spirit within, which is made operative in consciousness through meditation and prayer. Now, in number 3, or number 1, the overcome, Fillmore Wings lesson number 5. Overcome, well, we turn to that one. But number 2, the light comes not by anxious thought, in nothing be anxious, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And number 3, through meditation and prayer. The first move in all healing is to recognize on the part of the healer and on the part of the patient that God is present as an all-powerful mind, equal to the healing of every disease, no matter how bad it may appear. The best way to establish unity with the Father mind is by prayer.
Thanks, Lillian. Thoughts, reactions, disagreements?
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I struggle with unity because, or with this thought process, because it seems to me that, it just wants me to go into a cave and meditate and not be of the world and not be proactive in trying to make the world a better place. So, it's like the ostrich with the head in its sand versus, making a difference. So, what came to mind when I was pondering about this long paragraph Lillian was reading, was Mother Teresa. And when Mother Teresa was asked to march against war, she said, "No, I will not march against war, but call me when you have a peace march. I will march for peace."
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that kind of capsulates what we could do here. It's not to be against something, because in being against something, we call more of that to us, because that's, kind of how the law of attraction works. And by being for something in the positive, we call more of that to us. So that was my thinking while Lillian was reading that long sentence and I was having a quarrel with myself.
Oh, good thought. Yeah, that's kind of that sentence. The point is that we are to deal with the cause side, and we do this more effectively by keeping our thoughts busy in establishing the good than by looking for error. That's just kind of what you were saying, right, Claudia?
Yeah, about Mother Teresa, yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
I can say with great shame, I guess, that I do have, I do affirm the truth. I understand the whole truth thing, and I read the things, and I understand that, and I do hold myself in an attitude of willingness to be guided. But then I start arguing with God. And I think, no, feels like I'm being guided to do blank, but that can't be right. And then I start whatever words there are for what beyond questioning and arguing and not trusting the guidance to do it. And so that's my, before we even started today, I thought you must set down some positive idea of when you hear the guidance, you get it, but now you have to try this week to do it. So I'm saying it in front of all of you good prayerful people. I'm going to really try to do it.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janet.
Janet, you just go through what the rest of us do, like we're like, okay, God, you drive the bus. And then it's like, hey, get out of the driver's seat. I want to drive the bus. So, we go through that.
Or
Yeah, I haven't
don't,
gotten that from the people here. People here seem very committed to what the truth is and are doing it. And I feel, well, I've got a little free pass because I'm new, but I do understand I understand where I'm going off the rails. And particularly after yesterday, I understand where I'm going off the rails. And I want to
Oh,
not
no.
be I want to be on the rail by the time I leave the earth plane and go into the other dimension. I want to have gotten it right. So,
Well, I know a lot of these people here, and they're all bus drivers, let me tell you, at some point in time.
and we know the direction it's supposed to go in.
That's right. Because we've been studying a long time, huh?
Well, let's move on then, if there's nothing else on this one, to healing prayer. Who would be willing to read for us?
I can read.
Okay,
This is
great. Thank
Sandy.
you. Yeah, thanks, Sandy.
Okay. Healing prayer. What is a treatment? In what respects does the prayer treatment differ from the old concept of prayer? Number 19. A prayer for healing is sometimes called a treatment. The old concept of prayer was more a beseeching of God for something which it was felt might or might not be his will to give. We are now learning to think of prayer as described in the first lesson of this course, a conscious communion with God, not a beseeching for good. We are learning to pray with understanding and with faith. When a treatment or prayer is spiritual and scientific, it asserts but one real presence and power, perfect spirit, and is a call to the Christ within, spirit in the individual, to come forth and take dominion in the manifest. The steps in prayer are the same as the treatment steps in a treatment. So if we know how to pray, we know how to treat. And it refers to lessons in truth, lesson 10, annotation. Number 1, a treatment is a prayer of faith and understanding for healing, harmony, wisdom, prosperity, or any other good that man may desire. Its object is to raise the consciousness of the one being treated to a high spiritual consciousness through which healing is accomplished.
Thanks, Sandy.
Mhm.
So remind me what the steps in prayer are as this paragraph ends up.
Does this look familiar?
Yep.
The silence.
It's the hardest thing to do, Martha.
This is the part about handing over the steering wheel, right?
Yep. Get in the back of the bus, Martha.
See if this helps.
Claudia.
The general term, the silence, covers the entire process that brings us into conscious contact with the presence of God. It is the state of mind into which we enter to make the acquaintance of this presence. The silence is perhaps the most vital phase of prayer, for it is the ultimate in our search, bringing us consciously into the divine presence. So I think that may be what is being referred to in the part that we just read. And that's what this says here, right?
Right.
Conscious communion with God.
So you stop thinking about what it is that you are asking for or wanting. You just establish the oneness.
Yeah. Well, doesn't that sound easy?
No. In a word.
I've learned in my old age, after being trained very wrong in the 70s, that you don't pray for outcomes. When I was young, I was in a charismatic renewal group near where I live. And my God, it was the noisiest thing. And everyone is beseeching God and telling God what the person needs. Please send a healing to Mary so her sprained ankle heals fast. She has to go to the dentist on Tuesday. People were yelling out prayers with an outcome, and it was chaos. And I thought, what is happening here? And when I found Unity years ago, regular, what Unity, said the regular thing, it was quiet. And I thought, yeah, this has got to be way better. And, in these 12-step groups, they really say, we don't need to outline for God and we don't need to give him the outcome. But I say it and I know it, I believe it. And I don't do it. I never write it down. I'll just write down a person's name. But I still sort of think it. And I think, yeah, well, you were trained young and in the wrong way. So I'm working on it. But it is true. The healing is in the silence.
But even Myrtle went in with an affirmation of, I do not inherit sickness. I mean, we've pulled up Myrtle quite a bit. So, and even Emily Katie goes in with affirmations and denials, almost to prepare oneself for the silence, to quiet the monkey mind and to move into like that space of grace.
I don't yet understand the affirmation and denial package because I do understand affirmations and positive statements. I haven't quite guessed what you're denying because that sounds like negative. You're saying something, this thing is not true or is not going to happen. And I decided I didn't need to know yet. So I'm not really asking. I'm just saying that I don't, this positive, negative idea, I think the idea of staying in the positive is a real healing place. And that's not easy for me.
The concept in Lessons in Truth with Denials and Affirmations is the denials are the way that we sweep out the old to make way for the new. So that's the process. And we talked about that we actually talked about that in the previous section where we talked about let's not dwell on the cause, let's dwell on the outcome. Let's dwell on the presence. And Claudia gave that example. I am a child of God as an affirmation. I do not inherit disease as the denial.
Mhm.
And they work together.
So Emily, I have Emily here. Emily says the first denial is there is no evil. The second is there is no absence of life, substance, or intelligence anywhere. Third, pain, sickness, poverty, old age, and death cannot master me, for they are not real. And the fourth is there's nothing in all the universe for me to fear, for greater is God that is within me than God that is in the world. So that's the kind of denials that they're talking about, Janet. It's a broad, sweeping one, and as Marty says, it's kind of to clear the decks before you begin your affirmations.
But it sounds negative. It's using words of darkness and, things that you're trying to not, you're not doing this or that. It would seem that that's why it confuses me, because those are words that I think we're supposed to stay away from. But I know very clearly I am new to this truth unity way of understanding things. And I read that website. My God, I've read a lot. And I feel I'll be inspired by the end of time. And I've stopped, I guess what I'm saying is I've stopped doing what it suggests of balancing these two statements. I'm just sticking with the positive or flipping the words in the negative, because I've read that from what you just quoted. I've read that, but I'm changing the wording of the denial, that's just self-will run riot. I get it. So you think it's important to say it in the way she said it. Put that negative thing in there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, Emily actually says in her book that some people work better with denials and some people work better with affirmations. So she doesn't kind of direct us to.
But she did both.
Yeah, she did both affirmations and denials, but she just says that some personalities need denials more than they need affirmations. Some are more attracted to affirmations. So there you go.
Interesting. Which book do you have, Claudia?
The complete works of Emily Cady.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Myrtle was saying these things. No, you're saying Emily Cady said these things.
Emily.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell a little bit about, I'm just going to footnote here. Janet shared yesterday that she went to Emily Cady's house and stood on the street that Emily was in. She was like, when she said that, she was like, oh my God. I was like so envious.
Well, it's a building. It's an apartment building in northern Manhattan. I mean, even as I was walking down the street, I thought, why are you here? But I stood outside the building and I thought, that woman came and went. She did her medical practice. She lived alone. She did her prayers. She was a powerhouse of healing and light. And I admire her so much. And when I lived in New York, and I thought, yeah, just see if the building is still there. That was before you could Google things and see if there was a Google thing. And it was I felt her. I did feel her standing out on the sidewalk.
Cool.
Maybe a little crazy, but
If you read Emma Curtis Hopkins' book on scientific mental health or whatever it is, she has the same denials and affirmations approach. Denials first, affirmations second. But like Claudia said, what we go with what works. This is not designed to be doctrine. This is designed to be way showing. But I do think about when you and Claudia were dialoguing there, I was thinking about that story in the New Testament where the devil is trying to tempt Jesus, and eventually Jesus goes, "Get behind me." For me, that's like the great denial. You're out of here. You don't count. And I do that sometimes with my negative thoughts. Like, get out of here. Go on.
Hmm.
All right, so we'll move on to the next section. Who would read number 20 and 21 together?
I'll do those.
Okay.
Helping others. Explain how to treat one another. Explain how to treat another. In helping others, we must first enter the silence and realize the one presence and the one power, God omnipotent. We might hold a thought such as this: it is not I, but the Father within me. He does the works. We declare oneness with God and feel the fullness of life and power. We speak the healing word to the patient, giving thanks that in truth he is every whit whole. We must realize for him the truth of his being, his wholeness, his perfection as the offspring of God, and declare that it is manifest. We need to deny whatever seems to be the specific error appearance and affirm that the saving grace of Jesus Christ cleanses the mind and the body of all belief in evil and establishes the truth that makes us free. The last one too. In considering the saving grace of Jesus Christ, we find the word grace means gift or favor. Saving means freeing from that which binds or limits either in mind, body, or affairs. The gift comprises all the God qualities within us and the power to express them. Metaphysically, Christ is the divine pattern, God's idea of himself with all the principles necessary to reproduce God in man. Jesus, that which saves us, is our right to use the pattern and the God principles, or the unfolding in our consciousness of all the qualities that are required to bring forth divinity into manifestation through us. I have never seen such packed paragraphs in my life.
I know that. I was just thinking there's, as before, there's a lot packed into this.
Footnote 1, in helping others, we must first enter the silence. The first step in praying for others is the recognition that God is in charge. That's the hard part. I'm sorry, that was an aside. We must first begin our prayer treatment by stilling the mind and releasing thoughts of fear concerning the one for whom we are praying. Footnote 2, the truth of his being. The greatest gift we can share with others is to behold the Christ in them. That's in Ed Rabel's Metaphysics, Chapter 6, Praying for Others. Footnote 3, the gift comprises all the God qualities within us and the power to express them. Our increasing awareness of our 12 spiritual faculties will enable us to call them forth into dynamic expression within us. This process requires discipline, dedication, and a conscious recognition of ourselves as offspring of God. Metaphysics again, Chapter 3, Developing Our 12 Powers.
Thanks, Martha. Thoughts? reactions?
Sounds easy.
You're reading a different thing than I'm reading then, Claudia.
I'm not. It's
I know.
simple but not easy. And yet that's,
Mhm.
that is the greatest gift that we can give someone, is to not see their foibles or their failings or their F-ups, but to kind of just behold the Christ in them. I mean, that, to know that they've got that same power within them, that same God within them that is within us, or you or me, that's not easy. That's not easy at all.
This puts me in mind of the first time I called Silent Unity many, many years ago for prayer help, and this is the way they prayed.
Say how they prayed.
They declared oneness with God. They declared the issue is not the issue. The thing that was concerning me wasn't real, and that what was real was God's power to manifest as health, vitality, prosperity. And that person was just relentlessly focused on the sole presence of God in the issue.
How did that work for you?
Being, as I was rather new at the time, I was blown away.
Pissed off?
No, not at all. I was actually blown away at the dedication, determination, and focus. And it wasn't the words, it was that energy that I felt, and the energy of that conviction that this is what Claudia just said, or I heard her say, is that person was not seeing anything but the truth of God in my situation, which I was not seeing, and that person was seeing it for me.
Oh, and it worked.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if any of us call Silent Unity and talk to somebody, this is what we're going to get.
There's probably not a week that goes by that I don't email Silent Unity. I don't call them anymore, but it's so easy when I'm spiraling down in a place towards all the what ifs and fears, to just ask them to pray with me and so they are noted on my page.
I don't think you have to worry for a while.
So I'll put it in the chat. I'll put their connection in the chat if I can. But yeah, because they don't dwell in the darkness. They just go right to the place of wholeness, I guess would be a good way to say it.
I remember feeling wholeness is another word, but light. Like it was like I did it on the phone, and kind of like what Marty just said, I called them. Someone told me to call them like 40 years ago, and that these people would pray with you. And I had an experience like I never had with the Catholics or anybody other things that I was chasing. Just that woman's voice on the phone. And that's what got me started trying to understand, who are these unity people? And I really, there's so much of it that I think is a lifesaver to change. It's a shifting of your thinking. And it is metaphysical though, so it is not for everyone. I do know people that not they want something way more specific, and but it's always worked for me. And the truth unity works even better. And it's not, they're not at odds with each other, right? Because I do go to the unity site. I found on the unity site the 12 powers, which I think is what we would just read, but I didn't use that word. And it gives a little affirmation that makes you like get that, reach for that power. And that's okay to be part of this group, right? And still be going back to Unity Central.
Yeah, we don't have a loyalty oath here.
Okay.
Well, I think maybe the orientation line is important or interesting. Fillmore and Myrtle, started with a prayer group, and then he got the idea, or they did, to start a ministry. And so what we're reading here is the correspondence course, that if somebody said, I want to be a minister in the Unity movement, he'd say, okay, fine. And how many chapters are there? 13 or 35 or something?
There's 8 8 basic and 12 advanced.
Okay, so
Right.
so then they would, it was 1930s, so then they'd send out these lessons and get people's response. And I guess if they went through all 20 of them, you became a Unity minister. And at some point in time, you would go back. So this is the foundational part of Unity.
Right. And then I just have picked up that Unity went on to be other things, add-ons, different things, that Mark Hicks is going back to what Charles and Myrtle and Emily were teaching. It goes back to the basic start. And that's where I've just always found my, inspiration and change and growth, reading those original things. The books they put together about Myrtle's letters were really, really helpful to me. And they still are. I recorded a lot of them with my own voice on the phone, and I'm feeling particularly crazy, I will listen to it's my voice reading her words, and I think, okay, this can be done. These people did it. And it's really important to have real people who made the whole arc of their life and live their truth. And then it's all there. There's so much written down to just absorb all that they wrote without going any further. It doesn't. What's that saying? Is something about something something, and all the rest is commentary. And I think, yeah, I mean, I've gotten a lot out of it, and I was doing that for years until I somehow got to Truth Unity, and I was so shocked to see that these people, or Mark Hicks, or whoever's in charge, like thought the same thing. Somebody thought the same thing, that Charles and Myrtle and Emily had the basics, and it just feels like I came home. I really am very happy since I found it. I guess it was maybe in the summer. This is a different thing, trying to be in these online groups and feel so new and so less than, shall we say. But I know it's a process, and I'm just happy I found you.
Well, I think that's a good note for us to wrap up on, because we've come to the end of our time together. So I just want to make a quick note for maybe this is for you, Janet, but all for the rest of us, to remind us that there is that great Charles Fillmore's book, Keep a True Lent, and we are in Lent. So if you haven't had a chance to touch base with him and his observations about what's going on metaphysically in the Lenten season, I recommend that. I'm going to be speaking next week at Unity of Davis, which is online. So we'll do that. I'll be doing that after this course next week. And I'm going to be talking about the overcomer, because that's the lesson, the Charles Fillmore lesson for next Sunday in Keep a True Lent. So if anybody wants to come to hear that, love to see you at that next Sunday. So with that, we're going to wrap up as we always do with our prayer for protection. Let's join together. The light
of God surrounds us.
The
The
love
love of God
enfolds us.
enfolds us.
The
The power
of
of God protects us. The presence of God
watches over us.
wherever we are.
God
God
is,
is,
and
all is well.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Mark.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.